let's talk about how this could possibly go wrong. Everything's hunky-dory with this setup. The guy the players want, the message they want to hear, the voice they want to hear, and the shadow coach behind him making sure everything's going okay, helping him adjust and game plan and all that. That's great. But if Brandon Staley ever undermines Nick Sorensen's authority in any way in front of the players, this is doomed. Think about it. Let's say they're both on the sideline. Nick Sorensen calls something. Brandon Staley says, no. I mean, that's the kind of thing Kyle Shanahan does. If he ever overrules him in a meeting, on the sideline, in a game, in a practice, and just makes it clear to Fred Warner and Nick Bosa that Staley has the final say, no, we're doing it this way, because he has a lot more experience than Nick Sorensen, then Nick Sorensen is done. And you could argue that these players aren't stupid, and they see this setup, and they're wondering, who runs this defense? If I get benched, am I going to talk to Nick or Brandon or Kyle? Who has the final say here? And it needs to be Nick Sorensen. So Kyle's job and Brandon's job, well, Kyle's job is to make sure Brandon never steps on Nick. Otherwise, this is no point in even trying to do this. Nick Sorensen, Brandon Staley doesn't exist. No contact with the players. In the booth. Doesn't talk to the media. The shadow coach. Got to empower Nick Sorensen, or else he's going to get fired in a year, and they're going to end up promoting Brandon Staley anyway, or getting someone else. And the problem is the Niners are, knowing Kyle, I have a feeling that Brandon Staley is already undermining Nick Sorensen's authority. I mean, just feels like you hired a coach who wasn't really ready for the job. And now you have a guy like breathing down his neck, and you have Kyle breathing down that guy's neck. That's uncomfortable. So I want to be positive about this. My first reaction was, I don't like this at all. You hire 2 defensive coordinators, but I'm trying to see it from the Niners' perspective. He's hanging around Brandon Staley. He's cheap. They don't have to pay him. They could stick him up in the booth and have someone pretty smart up there. I mean, he's got to be better than whatever the Niners had in the booth after Wilkes came down last year, right? So as long as they can all work together and not step on Nick Sorensen, it could work. It could work. I mean, it'd be interesting. I haven't had the time, but how did Brandon Staley do against the Chiefs the last 4 years? I'm guessing he had some pretty good games against them. Guessing, don't know. Because that's what the Niners are all focused on right now. How do we take down Kansas City?